Hello everybody, welcome to Raising Vibrations. You're with Simon today. And today's video, we're going to be looking at Mercury Retrograde and the upcoming Mars-Pluto square. It's kind of an update that just kind of takes us a little bit past what the new moon was representing to us, and looking at the overall sort of general energy that we're going to be heading into, and I suppose what to make of it as we enter this Mercury retrograde period and this very, very intense Pluto square Saturn, Pluto square Mars energy. So as always, the imagery I like to use to kind of really highlight to us the essence of what I perceive and sense about the energy and what it can hold for us. Classic Scorpio type of coloring, you know, it's very black and white. Scorpio likes to contrast between, is it on, is it off? Are you committed or you're not? Are you part of the situation or are you not? Are you into your understanding your fears and your limitations or not? It's very black and white with Scorpio. There's no in between. And so I love this imagery so much because it not only captures the essence of Scorpio as an archetype and its coloring, this black and white contrast, but it also sets the tone for the nature of Scorpio. It's very espionage. You know, it's looking beyond the surface. It's wanting to know what your secrets are. You know, what's the script that you're writing at 9 o'clock at night, for instance, you know, with your little, or 12 o'clock at night with your little lamp and as I said, like the 1920s, you know, typewriter and very, very mysterious, you know. I love this imagery so much. It speaks to me. And the white cup that's kind of like just sitting there, you know, contrast again. Amazing expression. And how does that actually tie in with the nature of the chart itself? Well, let's do that. There's the chart and there's me. Hello everybody. So I thought that it'd be a good opportunity to, you know, really look at some of the themes that I think this Mercury retrograde are, that, you know, what it's kind of representing to us. If you have a look at the chart, you can see that Mercury and Venus have been playing around with each other for, you know, just over a week. So we've had a lot of energy where our mental process and what we value, what we consider to be essential for us, what we sense our ability to, you know, what do we put our resources into, you know, and how do we invest into things that reinvigorates us, gives us a deeper sense of stability, and how are we making choices within our lives that are ultimately giving us the opportunity to share and give back. This is a deep lesson that the Taurus archetype gets taught by Scorpio. You know, Taurus in and of itself wants to develop a strong base security, and at some point when you've really begun to understand how to, you know, how to connect with resources as a Taurus archetype, you begin to see that when you share with other people and you give, you're also giving back to yourself. How many times you've maybe done a favor for somebody and in return they've always placed you in a part of themselves that will, at some point, that favor can always be called in return. And it's not always the case, because of course there's always going to be betrayal with Scorpio. But generally speaking, the more that we can provide value to people's lives, the more we're going to see that people can offer it back to us in some way, shape, or form. And it's really about energy distribution and energy management with the axis of Scorpio and Taurus. And we can see that the sun is in Scorpio at 7 degrees. It's in opposition to Uranus. So I suspect that for most of you, you've been experiencing this kind of sudden, rapid changes within the day, you know, unexpected events, energy coming into your field, and sort of that very classic, you know, Uranian type of way of things occurring, where it's just sudden and, you know, out of the blue, things arise in your field and you're trying to make sense of it, or at least the ego is. So that opposition between Sun and Uranus is speaking to a deeper evolving essence that's really real for us at the moment. And it has a lot to do with Mercury and its connection to Venus and what they've been doing together there at the end degrees of Scorpio. If you see, Mars is in Libra, and the sign that is, or should I say the planet, that is actually being influenced by Venus is Libra. So you got Venus and you got Libra, and Mars is being deeply conditioned by the Venus archetype. And the Venus archetype is also conditioning Uranus. So what you've got here is a really interesting theme where our values and our needs and the way that we distribute our resources, the way that we manifest a quality of existence into our lives, and Mercury are having a communication. We're kind of reworking things, you know, really getting into the core of, and that's why I chose the picture. It's the messages, you know, the internal dialogue that we play within ourselves that may or may not actually provide us with better quality of life, that we can experience ourselves where we're able to commit to things. Remember that the new moon itself spoke a lot about the nature of fear and how we can live an entire life giving purpose to our fear as the very thing that prevents us from actually stepping into what would usually actually be our creative destiny, right? The eternal story that we've all come to actually work through in our lives, meaning what's your soul's script. So again, the reason why I chose the typewriter is that what type of story are you talking to yourself? You know, what is the story that you've been telling yourself? How do you identify yourself or your value or your worth outside of the accomplishments that you've done in sort of the outside world, the definition of how society conjures up a sense of value, you know? And this is where the Mars comes in over here as it challenges, as it makes a challenging square, should I say, to Saturn, which is in Capricorn on the south node. And you've got Pluto there as well. You know, we're going under like a really, really intense deconstruction and reconstruction of the way that we identify ourselves. This is why political politics, listen to me, identity politics is such a big thing in the world at the moment, because we are learning to experience the way that we identify ourselves in new ways that are not influenced by the way that we've defined ourselves in the past and the sort of judgments or the ideas about what we consider right and wrong to be. So with the Venus sitting at the end degrees of Scorpio there and Mercury sort of playing around that Venus, what we could be sensing and feeling is, what's the script that you've been running in the background of your life that you agree to that suggests that, well, if I do this, then that's the outcome. Or if I just kind of keep this at bay, then that prevents me from experiencing that. What types of stories does your mind conjure up that prevents you from actually meeting the deeper parts of yourself that want to actually be expressed through you and through your life, you know? These to me, I feel, are Scorpio-esque questions that will arise with this Mercury retrograde. And again, a lot of this has to do with the Uranus opposed the Sun, which is, yes, you know, we may have been experiencing some sudden jolts, etc., coming to the surface, but what Uranus really tries to do for us is change the pattern that we're familiar with so that we can kind of expose ourselves to a deeper underlying reality that's actually wanting to break through. So as Uranus kind of pops up into our awareness and asks us to recognize the sudden shift within our pattern, that what we explore within that is not the uncomfortability of the change, depending on the degree of the uncomfortability. I mean, if it's a really traumatizing experience, then, you know, that's a different story. But as these shifts in attention or awareness arise within our field, that we kind of look at it and ask ourselves the question, what is trying to come through? What types of synchronicities, a Uranian and Jupiter type of theme, are representing or presenting themselves to us that we can take note of and see if there is any value or any pattern that is trying to play out in our lives that is calling for our attention, you know? And again, the sun's in Scorpio, the Mercury's in Scorpio, Venus is in Scorpio. So it's not sort of a place where we're dabbling on the surface of stuff. We're really actually diving really deep into the subterranean layering of our psychological states. And so there's a wonderful opportunity here to really get into the nuts and bolts of what actually is the driving force for our desires, or our capacity to see what we consider to be empowerment. As an example, we might see something outside of ourselves and say, wow, I wish I could do that. And so this kind of energy at the moment says, well, what's stopping you? And then you can actually ask yourself, well, maybe there is a thread of subconscious, potentially. That's what Uranus will want to really bring to the surface, or conscious, where I keep telling myself that, well, if I do that, the potential to fail is high, and I don't really like actually feeling like I'm a failure, because maybe I was told a couple of times as a kid that, failure equaled humiliation. And so you can see the kind of thread that is materializing as we go deeper into the structure of why we would hold certain defenses in place, or why we would say certain things that we would believe to be the truth, but really are actually protecting us from an uncomfortable emotion that we don't want to viscerally sit with. We want to sit with our emotion. We want to sit with that pain, and we want to really feel that pain, because there's a lot of kind of positive things that materialize out of sitting with our pain. And expressing it, I think, would be healthy as well. So if you do find yourself in an opportunity to be with a trusted friend that can just hold space for you to process, which is a Scorpio theme, by the way, processing unconscious or emerging material to the surface, this is healthy. So whatever story it is that you're holding on to, that through consciously or unconsciously, I would encourage that, so this is a period of time, especially with this Mercury retrograde, that you are using the mechanic to explore the depths of what language, what type of psychological attitude you have, what type of thread or theme you seem to potentially hang on to that actually prevents you from going deeper into the nature of your reality. Okay? So the final thing that I wanted to put across over here, just briefly with the Mars square the nodes, and I wrote this in the New Moon article, is that it's not uncommon for us to experience swings between patterns of the past, which is this Mars square Saturn South Node dynamic, where we are responding to life from that previous pattern of conditioning and internalized identity, and the awarenesses that arise from the moments that we are experiencing more deeper uncomfortable emotions, whether it be that our boundaries are being tested, whether it be our ability to speak up for ourselves better, whether it be that there is a challenge that is sort of presented ahead of us that we, if we chose to embark on, and we brought closer to our lives as a feeling of, this is what will empower me as I achieve a deeper sense of communion with my soul. These types of moments, these types of experiences, Mars will be pulling our attention back to what limits us, and then asking us to take the awareness out of what we experience from that limitation, right? What we are noticing that is not really supportive for us, cutting that away, and then integrating into the North Node a new personality that is more nourishing and more connected and more holistic in some sense to what is feeling correct for you and authentic for you, And these are the types of themes that I would say would be the most present for us at the moment. I definitely am feeling them. So I hope that this kind of gives you an ability to, in a sense, navigate a little bit about what is taking place for us right now. Okay? Fantastic. All right, peeps. Thanks very much for allowing me to share this with you. But before I actually let you go, I've got something super, exciting, I suppose. I'm really joyful to be able to share this with you. And if this appeals to you, magical. If it doesn't, that's not a problem. But I want to let you know that over the weekend, So today's Thursday on this recording, but over the next 3 days, over the weekend, I'm going to hide myself and then just do this over here. For any of you that have been considering having a reading with me, or have been considering thinking about studying astrology, the astrology school with me, for the next Friday, Saturday, Sunday, I'm going to be offering every person that purchases this school, so the full astrology school, a free chart overview. So if you want to have a reading with me, if you want to have tutoring with me, so if you purchase the school, you get a free astrology reading with me, or a tutoring session, whatever you like. And this is available over the weekend. So as I said, if this appeals to you and you're one of those souls that has been considering looking at the astrology school or considering getting a reading with me, this is an opportunity that I want to provide to everybody, so that you can kind of get the best of both worlds. Okay. So in the description below, as well as the comments, I will leave a link for you to click onto. And if you go to that link, it will take you to this page over here, and then you can just click on the link to go through and set it all up. All right. Fantastic. Thanks very much, everybody, for your time and attention. I hope that you have an amazing day, and I speak to you soon. Bye-bye.